Hey guys, it's Jake here with eTrailer. Today we have a 2024 Ford Bronco Sport, and we're going to be taking a look at, and I'm going to show you how to install the CURT Class III 2-inch hitch receiver. Adding a hitch receiver to the back of your Bronco Sport is going to give you a lot of different options. If you pair it with wiring, like the owner of this vehicle did today, you can use it to pull a trailer. If you choose not to go with wiring, then you can use it for bike racks and cargo carriers to make more space on the inside of your vehicle. This hitch is going to have a standard 5/8 inch hitch pin hole. It'll accept a 5/8 hitch pin and clip. The pin and clip does not come with this hitch, but chances are if you have an accessory, it either has one or will come with one. The loop style safety chains here are the spots to connect to are nice and large, so you can fit a clevis style like that on or an S-hook style like this. So it really makes it nice so that if you ever want to rent a trailer or you're renting a piece of equipment or something like that, or if you're borrowing trailers from different people, it's going to fit many different size safety chain hooks. From the center of our hitch pin hole to the outermost part of our bumper is about 3 inches. You want to use that measurement when comparing that to some measurements on accessories. If you look on our website, you're looking for a cargo carrier or a bike rack, it'll tell you the closest part of the rack to the vehicle or to the hitch pin hole. Compare that to that 3 inches. It'll tell you whether or not you can fold it up without it hitting your car. From the ground to the top inside of our receiver tube, it's going to be about 15 3/4 inches. That should be high enough off the ground. You shouldn't have to worry about any of your accessories dragging on the ground. As far as weight capacities go, this hitch receiver is going to be rated for a max tongue weight capacity of 525 pounds and a max gross trailer weight capacity of 3,500 pounds. You will want to check with the owner's manual and the submodel of your vehicle to be able to check whether or not your vehicle is capable of handling those amounts and go with the lowest rated component between the hitch and the vehicle. Now, as far as the installation goes, this install is a pretty straightforward installation. You don't have to do a ton of modifications. You will have to grind a little bit out of a hole in order to run your hardware into the frame rail. And then you will also have to do a little bit of trimming on the back side for the hitch receiver to actually stick out of the bottom, because it's that nice, the clean look on here. You're not going to have that exposed cross tube. Typically with the exposed cross tubes, you don't have to do a whole lot of trimming. But for this particular vehicle, any hitch that you install, you're going to have to do some trimming. So with that out of the way, let's go ahead and take a look at that install. To begin our installation, we're going to take the 4 7mm screws out of the bottom of our bumper here. Now on each side of our vehicle, we're going to have a 10mm nut that's holding on, first off, this bracket, and then that's got our wiring, and then underneath it there's another nut. We'll have to take that one off, take the one off the other side. Make sure you have a strap supporting your exhaust, because this will lower it to get it out of the way for us to raise our hitch. Now we'll take a flathead screwdriver, and everything we're doing on one side, we're doing to the other side of the vehicle. We're going to pop out the center of that fastener, and then we're going to have to pull out the base, because that's what's holding this little fabric part up in here. This one is not the same style. Usually you can just pull straight down on those, and it's a Christmas tree style, and they should unthread right out of here. We'll just set those to the side. We're just going to take this fabric, tuck it up out of the way so that it's clear of our hitch. Now from the back of our vehicle, we've got 3 holes, one here, and one here. Your access hole is going to be on the side of our frame rail. What we need to do is you're just going to take a grinder or like a little die grinder or a file, and just ever so slightly file off the one inside side of this hole. It's just barely not big enough to be able to fit the hardware through. So we've got our hardware. We'll have a carriage bolt and a spacer block. Slide that onto your fish wire. We'll take our fish wire, gonna bend one end of it, throw it up in there, and then you want to pull the fish wire out of each one of your holes that we're going to pull bolts out of. The trick here is you flip this bolt around, put the head in first, and then toss that whole bolt in, and pull it down through that hole. We're going to repeat that process for the other 2 holes on this side of the frame rail, and then we'll do that same thing on the driver's side. Before we raise our hitch up into place, we need to make room for the receiver tube to hang down. And right here you can see the design of this, I guess you could call it just the back plastic here, but this bump in it. We're just going to trim along this edge, and that should be more than enough to be able to get our hitch to pop out here. When you get to this plastic part, we're just going to cut a straight line with our multi-tool straight down from this point and from that point. From here, because this piece it's held on by just the corners, but I don't want to run it past it, just take your razor blade and connect those 2 cuts, and that should be enough to break this off. Now we can take our razor blade and just clean up these edges. Now we've got our spot cut out, we can take our fish wires, run them through the correct holes in our hitch, and then we'll lift it up into place. You may have to pull out on this plastic bumper a little bit in order to slide it behind it or flex the heat shield, one of the 2. But definitely get yourself an extra set of hands in order to do this. It can be kind of difficult at times. Once you get it in place, rip one of those fish wires off, and then follow it with a nut. We're just going to spin one on each side to hold the hitch in place. Now that we've got those 2 pieces of hardware holding it in place, we can lift it up and we can see that it's making some pretty severe contact with our fascia. We've done some of these before. We know that we are going to have to trim out a little bit more up here at the top. So we'll go ahead and get that trimmed out and see how it fits. Once you've got the hitch held up in place, then we'll come back and repeat that same process for the remaining hardware. Now we're going to take a 19mm socket. We'll come in here and we're just going to snug these up. Make sure you don't tighten them too much because we are going to be coming back with a torque wrench and torquing them down. Now we've got our torque wrench and we looked in our instructions, found the torque specifications, and that's what we're doing now. Now that we've got our hitch in place, we can take our hardware, put our exhaust back up into place, and then put those 4 bolts back in the bottom of our plastics. Now just a little tip, if you guys, if you look under here, once you get everything finished up, I looked on both sides just because we've had issues in the past with many different types of vehicles. Is this heat shield is very noisy if it's resting on the hitch receiver. This side on our passenger side is fine, but on our driver's side it is not. So I'm just taking a pliers, and you just want to bend it away to be sure that it's not touching the hitch itself. Certainly make sure it's not touching the exhaust either. It shouldn't. But if it's touching that hitch, just put a little bend in it so that it's not touching it. If it does, it'll rattle pretty bad going on the highway, or if not, it'll wear in and then it will rattle. So you'd hate to have to come back just to do that. Well guys, hopefully this video helped you decide whether or not the CURT 2-inch hitch receiver is right for you in your 2024 Bronco Sport.